Basically, I'm like the core for the contract, but since it's not a contract, I can't be a core, and that's okay. But I'm your point into addressing any issues with the vendors as they deliver our service here on the installation. So we're going to go through some briefings that tell you what we're trying to do, what the Air Force is trying to do, how they're trying to improve communication services for you. And this is we're setting the standard for the rest of the Air Force. So we're developing the way forward. We're going to pass those lessons learned back to the IPO. They're going to develop the second and third way forward so that we can roll this out to the other bases in the Air Force. So everything you tell us is essential to make it better for everybody else. With some additional remarks, the commander, 55th Communications Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Wong.
Well, welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice and muggy outside and nice and cool in here. So definitely enjoying this nice venue. Thank you for the 55th Weather Wing, 557th Weather Wing for letting us use their auditorium. I also want to thank the IPO team for coming out here to talk to us about EITaaS. As the Comm Squadron Commander, we've been leading the effort on the base here to bring you the latest IT technology that the commercial sector has to offer. All right, it's a long and difficult process, but the team here is awesome. And what we're going to show you is how we're doing that, what you guys are getting when you come here to Offutt Air Force Base, and how you can use it. All right. So take some notes. If you have questions, you can contact Wayne Brown. You can contact myself or any member of the team, or you can call the service center. Right? You'll hear that as a theme. So let's hear from our vendors, and we look forward to providing you the best IT service that is in the Air Force right now. And I'm going to hand it over now to Mr. Shea.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lawrence Shea. I'm a GS-15. I'm part of the EITaaS IPO leadership team, one of 3 tri-chairs. Colonel Oppel will be coming up and talking to you next, and Colonel Justin Collins is the other member of the team, but he's not here with us today, and we'll provide some additional information on what we do. My role, I'm representing the Air Force CIO, and I'm located, as I said, at Hanscom Air Force Base with the rest of the EITaaS team, and we're all about transformation. We're about resources and guidance and providing strategic leadership, and that's the role that I bring to the team. So with that, I'll turn it over to Colonel Oppel.
Thank you, Mr. Shea. Hi, everybody. I'm Colonel Brenda Oppel. I am the Air Combat Command, or Lead Command for Cyber, representative to this IPO. If that term is not familiar to you, let me kind of spell it out. So we have an integrated program office for this program for Enterprise IT as a Service. That's different than most of our other multi-million-dollar program offices, and here's why. Because our Air Force CIO knows that this is so important. We have to have the views of others as we bring in this risk reduction effort and then turn it into the scalability that will be for the entire enterprise. Ms. Lauren Knassenberger, as our CIO, knows that we need to have that staff and policy, the strategy aspect that SAF-CN brings. We need to have the voice of the customer and the mission effectiveness and orientation that Lead Command for Cyber brings. And we need to have the programmatic acquisition side the Air Force Lifecycle Management Center brings. And so that's why we created this logical operating model of an IPO, or Integrated Program Office team. And so some of the people that are here with you today are not from here. You know, we're from Hanscom. Some of us came in from industry. And so we think you guys, as our Offutt customers, are important enough to make sure that we're here explaining things to you so that you understand how important your role in this risk reduction effort is. This risk reduction effort is going to be the bedrock foundation for what we do for the entire Department of the Enterprise. So 750,000 airmen and guardians are counting on you, the Offutt customers, to provide honest and realistic feedback on how this is going. So when we talk about surveys later, I want to hear your real, honest, and true feedback. I want to figure out how I can adjust what I'm doing in the risk reduction effort to make your life better now, as well as the life better for the airmen and guardians of the future. You know, we deal with the EITaaS program on a daily and weekly basis with 2- and 3-star leadership within the Department of the Air Force and the Space Force. So just know that, you know, Offutt, in addition to the other bases we'll talk to you about, has that laser beam strategic leader focus on you to see how it's going. So when it comes time for Q&A, please raise your hand, ask those questions, find us afterwards, whatever method you're comfortable with, but we want to make sure that we're explaining things to you in a way that you can understand, or if something's not going right, we have the candid feedback so we can make it better. The work that you guys do here at Offutt Air Force Base is advancing the National Defense Strategy on a daily basis. And so know that we want to be the service provider that is giving you excellent customer service on all levels and on all lines of effort. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel Neff Harada, who is our strategy and planning lead.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir. So thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Wong for the invitation to come out here to talk about EITaaS to you and let you know what kind of capabilities that we're bringing into the fight. So we'll kind of go over the agenda. There you go.
Hey.
Okay. So here's the thing of the agenda for today. So we had our speakers up front, myself just kind of guide the discussion, but then we're going to turn it over to our vendor partners, ACIC, AT&T, and then Accenture Federal Services to highlight some of the things we're bringing to base. And then lastly, we'll do Q&A. So the formal briefing part will take about 45 minutes, leaving 15 minutes for Q&A. You have any questions for the vendors or for the integrated program office. And then if you want to stay behind, some of the vendors will stay behind too to kind of get after stuff. All right, so as mentioned, here's some of the purpose statements for what we're going to do today. We understand military life, people PCS out of Offutt. So maybe not familiar with what EITaaS bring in, whether it's a new number or the new portal. So this town hall is an opportunity for us to re-engage, to provide those tools that are available, and make sure you get the support that you need. And then obviously talk about EITaaS. And the other last thing is mentioned so far is feedback, whether it's feedback for our vendor partners on the portal, on the services, and so on, and also feedback to the integrated program office. So this is just a good way for us to engage, have a dialogue, have a discussion, and see how EITaaS can support Offutt Air Force Base. So the next two slides are broad picture EITaaS about how we want to get after IT. IT is one of those things that touches nearly every airman and guardian across the Air Force. So we want to make sure we deliver commercial best capabilities across those airmen. So right now, as mentioned, we're in the risk reduction effort for 8 bases. So seeing how we are bringing this commercial best capabilities inside the Air Force. So this visual here is kind of a guide as to some of the feedback that we've received from across the bases through interviews, through feedback session. And then just without reading the text, you can kind of see some of the verbal expressions or the nonverbal expressions about how airmen think about and guardians think about IT, whether it's the laptop, whether it's the service that they get, or whether it's the devices or network that they ride on. There are some pain points, so we understand that. So we want to minimize or improve upon the IT experience for the airmen so you can be mission focused and kind of get after stuff. So that's the current state of EITaaS. So for me, I'm a lifelong cyber comm professional, so understand that, hey, maybe this is not necessarily the comms guardian's fault or the airmen or the civilian doing the IT work. Some of it may be policy, funding, and so on. So there are many reasons to have some of these frustrations. But understand that the Air Force is making an investment with EITaaS to roll out these capabilities at the 8 bases that we're at, and then also look long-term to deliver across the Air Force. But all these pictures, statements, are just based on some of the feedback interviews that we've had across just different airmen. And then we get into the future state of what we want to get with EITaaS. So this is future state, not today. Understand there's still some work in progress, working through some of the processes and so on. But here's what we want to get to with EITaaS, and some of the pictures you see with the Eagle, the Falcon, to make sure that we deliver commercial best, fast, reliable network devices so the airmen and guardians can focus on, the mission and so on. So you see some of the visuals, an improved device, improved mobile devices, improved network, and also improved customer support 24/7 that you can get, whether it's phone, chat, or the portal. And this is the future state where we want to get with EITaaS to understand, so this is a risk reduction effort. So we're taking the feedback from today, how it's going with the different vendor partners, and how we can kind of adjust to make sure we deliver the future state of EITaaS that we're looking for. And so before I tee up the vendors, so right now there's 3 vendors here at Offutt Air Force Base, so SCSE, AT&T, and Accenture. So the reason for us being here as the integrated program office to make sure that we collaborate, work together with the vendor partners, with the base leadership, and make sure we get that feedback. So I'll tee it up to End User Services, SCSE. JR, if you want to tee us up.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank the IPO senior leadership and the base comm squadron leadership for giving us an opportunity to come over here and share with you the successes of our mission of this particular program. Team SAIC is very clear on what our mission is. Our mission is to provide you world-class IT services so that our airmen and guardians can take care of the ever-important cyber defense mission for our United States Air Force. Team SAIC and User Services will primarily connected to 2 of the missions. We're connected to the service desk, and we're also connected to field services. We do more than that, but as far as your interface with us, that is where you see the SAIC warriors do our day in and day out. On average, Team SAIC deals with about 8,000 tickets spread out through all our RE bases. So we work with people all the way from Alaska, all the way to the other side to Germany, and that's about our ticket count. It oscillates depending on what time of the year it is. We also are rolling out devices with our image, the EDC image, that has been proven to be a game changer in the customer experience. We all know that the customer experience is how we'll define this particular effort. To give you more details on that, I'm going to present my Customer Mission Success Manager, Mr. Gene Mattingly, who's going to give you some more details. Sir?
Thanks, boss. All right, let's hope I can do this right. This is just a little test. I did it right. All right, hey, Gene Mattingly, Customer Mission Success, SAIC. A pleasure to be here this afternoon. Looking forward to talking a little bit more about end user services. I'm going to pick up on something the boss just said, that we've brought a significant amount of computers, let's just say laptops, 2 different types, desktops, 2 different types, and mobile devices, handheld, possibly a few, or we're in the process of bringing more of tablets, right? So we're bringing an experience that we hope is game-changing, right? But we can't do that without being a team. So I'll pause just for a second and say there's a lieutenant general, former CIO that I used to work for back at Air Force Space Command. He used to say, his nickname was Coach, and he used to say this is team ball. Like, we can't do this just on our own. It really does take partnering with AT&T, partnering with, in this case, Accenture here as well, to be successful. And we've been doing that throughout this experiment, if you want to call it that, right? So we're continuing to do that, but we can roll out EDCs all day long, but without great network service, we're not going to be successful. And in those compute and store resources, again, we're not going to be successful. So it just takes team ball. We want to be a part of an effective team bringing you a wonderful experience, customer experience, and ultimately customer satisfaction. So on this slide, what you're seeing here is all the things that we call end user services. So whether you're talking, the ServiceNow platform, which is where you enter a ticket, and we're building that out and continue to improve that throughout the last few months, or whether you're talking about field services, which the boss just mentioned, bringing you a new, improved desktop experience. All these things are mobility, for instance. We bring mobility devices to our customers as well. So all of these things, again, focused on improving your experience. So here at Offutt. I think we've rolled out about 1,400, and our field services operations lead is here as well. We've rolled out about 1,400 devices. We're headed towards north of 4,000. So listen, here's the experience, right, for you. This is the most important thing. I know even when I was in the Air Force for 27 years, you know, we started building this thing called the Air Force Network, right? Back in 1986 is when I joined the Air Force, and then throughout my 27 years, you know, we constructed this AFNet, a lot of stovepipes, tried to piece things together. We're trying to fix all that right now. But, you know, it used to be I'd have to come in the morning, log in, and I'd go take a walk. And I might go get a cup of coffee. I might sit and talk to a friend for a few minutes and get up, do a little Monday morning armchair quarterbacking maybe. I'd come back to my desk, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, dare say 40 minutes later, and I could start working, right, on my computer. Now, you get an EDC, it's not the case. We bring you a new and improved experience, a faster experience that I think you're all going to, if you haven't experienced an EDC, when you do, you'll see the difference. You're not going to have to, well, the point is, you better get the cup of coffee before you start to log in, right? That's the important point. So again, a lot going on here. We're going to talk a little bit about customer satisfaction a little bit, and Colonel Offutt just mentioned a little bit ago customer sat and surveys. The only way we're going to get better is if you complete your surveys. So how do you engage with us? So you gotta contact us. You got to contact us. So you have the 800 number up there, 888-996-1629, and you have that servicenow.af.mil website. That's how you contact us. That's how you get started engaging with us if you need support services from SEIC end user services. And we're here to help you be successful. So a service desk is going to open up a ticket for you. Or you might use the chat bot, which we are improving continuously. That AI or ML, the artificial intelligence, machine learning aspects of a service center to be industry best practice for you. So we want you to use that, and we want your feedback on that. We also do knowledge articles that you could self-serve. Go out, read an article, we'll step-by-step help you through something you might be experiencing on the end user device. But again, you have to contact us, and it starts with, again, that 800 number or the servicenow.af.mil website, and you kick that process off. By the way, if we don't solve it at the ServiceNow desk, we're going to kick it over to the field operations team. And they're going to start working your ticket at that level, at the bases, respectively. And sometimes those tickets do get moved through a series of what we call resolver groups. What is a resolver group? It's just someone else in our process that might have to handle your ticket. For instance, we might have to send a ticket over to the AT&T team, right? Maybe over to the Accenture team. And they're going to take that and work on it too, as well. And then it'll come back into what we call a case, and we're going to manage that all the way to closure. And the way you can get updates on your tickets is you can actually go back to the servicecenter.af.mil, type in your case number, and you might get you will get an update on that. And if you don't, or you think there's a problem, again, call us, leave a note, and we will work that for our customers, for you, our customers. Here we are at Offutt Air Force Base, fighting for the customer. I'm a trained SAC warrior, right? 17 years old, Plattsburgh Air Force Base. I know what it is. Your mission is the most important thing. And what we want is we want to provide services to get you and keep you on mission. Keep our airmen and guardians on mission. That's the whole point of providing you an industry best practice support system in end user services. And here at Offutt Air Force Base, you have a whole team dedicated to supporting you. Our field service site lead is led by Timothy Fulhive, and some of his leadership there that work with the teams that bring you that end user device to your desktop. They schedule to come and see you. Some of our customers here, right? They schedule, and we just need you to keep that schedule so that we can bring and keep those devices rolling out here at Offutt Air Force Base. So there's been some rebranding. We don't have a picture, but one of our teammates does. You'll actually see the ServiceNow portal picture. And then as of 27 July, we're 1,144 devices here at this base. We've deployed over 7,000 devices across the enterprise IT as a service RRE bases. So customer satisfaction. Again, it's been stressed, and I'll stress it again. We need to hear from you. I mentioned that SAP trained warrior. We used to go through these inspections called ORIs, right? Operational readiness inspections, nuclear surety. We had a rating scale. It went from unsat, marginal, sat, excellent, outstanding. I think I still got it right. We want to be industry outstanding practice every single day. Our ORI is every single day. We want to be able to do that, but the only way we can do that is if we remain effective in your eyes. So we need to hear from you all through our survey apparatus. So we send out a survey anytime we bring an end user device to your desk, and we also, anytime we close out a ticket or you work a ticket, you have an opportunity, whether we send out a survey or not, so we're not survey fatiguing you, or in my book, feeling email fatigue at times. But you can always use the button on the ServiceNow portal to fill out a survey and provide the team feedback. And we will respond to that feedback. As it states here, we review those tickets. We always review any ticket that's 3.5 or less. We want to be the best. We're on an adventure together, right? Never done before in the United States Air Force. Enterprise IT as a service. We want to get this right. Not just one day, but every day. But again, I'm stressing it because we need your feedback. Good, bad, ugly. We want your feedback. So that way we can improve the services that we're bringing to you all, our customer. So before I close, I just want to make sure I've hit all the points from my team, from my boss, and from Rob Paradis. All right. Well, with that, we'll have a question and answer period that's going to follow after this. Thank you very much. I think next up is Network as a Service. There you go, sir.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I'm James Starling. I'm the base site lead for AT&T Network as a Service. And if you're not familiar with the Network as a Service, we usually just shorten it and say NAS. And we also say some other things like AT&T is here kicking NAS. So with that said, what I want to do is kind of talk to you about, for you, the user, what you can receive from AT&T, right? If you look up here, some of the capabilities that we're providing here at Offutt Air Force Base, so you can have a better user experience. Number one is Wi-Fi and mobile access for users. We're expanding existing Wi-Fi capabilities here at Offutt, as well as our CRAN and FirstNet and 5G access. So what we're doing, what we're doing is from the flight line out to the perimeter, providing a complete focused coverage for Wi-Fi, FirstNet, and our 5G access. If you go down to number 3, what we're looking at doing is shortening and flattening the network and increasing speed and bandwidth. So when you as a user plug in, and we talked about SAIC and their field services, when you plug in and that laptop gets connected to that wall jack, just think about that wall jack is where AT&T starts. And so when you do happen to call in for a ticket, if it's something prior to that, then it's probably going to be a field services. But AT&T grabs from that wall jack onto the bandwidth, and that's where we get involved. And when I say we, I'm saying we as the AT&T team. As I'll discuss later, you'll see where we have our CNOS that comes in that's always monitoring the network and providing that initial capability. From there, when you plug into that network, what we're doing is we're increasing the bandwidth speed. As an example, there are some connections here at Offutt that were operating at 100 megahertz, right? And we were upgrading that bandwidth to 1 gigahertz speed from the user desk to the access point, right? So there was also a network that was hybrid network that was daisy chain switches after switches. We're flattening that so that if you're in a certain building and that primary switch goes down, it's not going to take the entire building down. That's what we're doing by flattening our network. We're For number 4, you see where we have our ice. Ice went down on base. What that did is provide us the ability to provide a level of security on the base. And so to help improve that user experience, not only did we upgrade the ice, but what we did was we added the capability so that you as a user, if you're not getting connected, you have the ability to go to a web page, and if ice is blocking you, it'll send you back a splash page that says, this is why you're not connected. And then you will be able to call the help desk and give them this information, and they'll be able to quickly resolve with their field services team. What does that mean to you as an Offutt user? That you get faster response when the network, if that's the potential issue is causing you, is not working. Again, what we want to do once we continue to expand out, improve speed through our secure internet gateway, where we're going to upgrade that capability as well as providing, once that's in, access through VPN, and then eventually get approved for our NetBond G services, that's going to improve our ability to get after the cloud and cloud hosted services. And here we go again. There you go. So, what's the best use case of what we've done already is OLAF. Has anyone been out there to OLAF themselves? Great. Thanks, Colonel. So what we've done at OLAF was we've implemented our solution. So when you're at OLAF, they got the wireless campus, they have our VoIP solution, they have our new improved network equipment. We have expanded the Wi-Fi to include the flight line and a ramp. That's where the operator said that they needed Wi-Fi. And that capability is out there, and they're experiencing, the user experience out there is great. And so what we wanted to do is now show how we can bring this OLAF experience to you here at Offutt as well. So OLAF is proven technology that we've done. Some of the use cases that we're able to do because of OLAF is bring Wi-Fi here to the Benny Davis facility, our maintainers that are on the day-to-day using different capabilities either from the aid shop, the aircraft parts store, conference rooms, even our security forces. But what we've been able to do is expand the ability of the Wi-Fi to improve how they do business on a day-to-day basis. Basically improve how they can go out, take this technology like their tablets and go to the aircraft parts store and be able to use that tablet while they're pulling stock versus having to go out to the shelf, write the stock, and then come back down to their computer and load it up. So that capability is existing today here at Offutt. So if you're part of the Benny Davis maintenance guys, you'll see that over there. As well as in the aid shop, in the fabrication shop, we've done that capability so those guys can take their laptops to their workstations versus having to go back and look up technical information as before. We're bringing our improved VoIP services that's coming out like within the next, well, this month for a couple of buildings here at the fire department and the gym where we're making a cloud hosted solution. And then our RAN access, our 5G C-RAN access that we're providing, again, provides that complete wireless coverage where you'll be able to use your Wi-Fi and mobile devices to be able to continue to work. And this is what we're wanting to do. And so we talked about how do you get involved, and SAIC was saying how do you reach them. This slide helps kind of talk where AT&T fits into that. How do we reach and get support? Everything starts with the ticket, right? Everything starts with the help desk. Once they determine that if it's a network or a job that it needs to go to AT&T, then they will get that to our CNOS. Our CNOS then does our initial triage for us, AT&T, and if they decided that they need field services support here locally, that's when they reach out to us here locally to resolve an issue. Now, I say that we get the help desk, that's from a reactive side. What you see up here on the proactive side is where AT&T is constantly 24/7 managing the network. That means we're watching, we're listening, we're paying close attention to what's happening to the devices on the network. And as soon as the network hiccups or goes down, we get the notifications within minutes. But again, we're waiting for that CNOS team to do their initial triage, and then if they need their support, they call us out directly to go help and resolve the issue. And that's how you reach us. And if there is a question that you have, what we say is go back to the service center, give them a call, let them know what's going on, and then they coordinate that between the help desk and our CNOS for resolution. So all the things that I talked about earlier, our band transformation, our Wi-Fi, our voice, our brand, 5G, the secure internet gateway and NetBond, all those things are taking place and are in progress now and soon to be delivered, as you see on the timeline chart before you. Thank you, and I'll transition over to Colonel Rob.
Well, thanks, James. I think if you want to send your team, you want to come up, but I think SSE and AT&T kind of highlighted the service portal, the number, and so forth. And this is more tailored to, the PCS in the base. Before you would get, these are legacy IT, the ESD portal, and so on. But being here at EITaaS, risk production effort base, that's where you get your support. But I'm going to turn it over to the Accenture team. We'll talk on many subjects.
Awesome, thank you. Great to be here today. My name is Eric Wilbur. I'm part of the Accenture team, Compute and Store, CNS. This is Don Hamilton. He's here with me. He's going to take you through some things. But again, just want to say thank you for having us out today. I've been at Offutt a few times off and on over the past few years. And I'm an Army guy, so I hope you guys don't hold that against me for the past 12 years. But I've served in the capacity as a chaplain, and I see how important streamlining processes are to soldiers and their families and airmen and their families. And that's why I'm so excited to be a part of this effort, so we can help streamline the IT process here across the Air Force and maybe reduce some of that stress on airmen and soldiers and their families, so they can focus on what's important, right? The mission and their families. And so super excited to be a part of that process. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Don Hamilton to take you through the ESOC.
Thank you, sir. That's great. Don Hamilton here. I'm the SOC integration lead. We'll go ahead and talk about what that means and some of the things that we do, but primarily focus on the EITaaS Security Operations Center, or the ESOC as we call it. We'll go a lot deeper into what that means, but we are very focused in coordination with AFB, as well as very, very close coordination with all of our vendors in protecting and monitoring and defending the cybersecurity posture of the EITaaS environment here at Offutt. So we'll go a little deeper into that. We became initial operational capability, meaning we took over this responsibility on the 26th of February. We have CNS in a box, which is some of the hardware we have here installed on Offutt to help support that mission and enhancements. We have Device 42, which is some of the tools that we use on CNS in a box that does some dependency mapping, some the discovery as well, and continues to help with making sure that everything's running smoothly for everyone. And then we also have some recommendations that were done for data center consolidation in an effort to optimize and potentially have some operational cost savings. So we'll continue on from there. What is ESOC? What is the EITaaS Security Operations Center? So I won't go too deep into what's on the left, but you'll see that we're a data-driven solution. All of the data that we are ingesting in drives what we do. We aggregate, we analyze, we figure out what needs to be done, who needs to be contacted, and how we can get that resolved in the most timely manner and optimized and efficient manner for AFB as well as with the vendors for the EITaaS terrain at Offutt. We utilize the advanced platforms and automation of ASEAM, ASOR, as well as some network visualization so that we can see where these things are occurring, how that affects other things, and exactly where we could potentially automate these in the future. How to make sure that basically what you all are doing is secure and safe so that your mission continues to be able to move along. So for NAS, right, if we're looking at AT&T, the network that they've rolled out here, everything you're doing on there, SAIC, the devices that they've sent out, the ones that are so quick, so fast, work so well, we're focused on making sure that you all are secure in everything that you're doing so that your mission continues. And as well as the hardware that we put out here to continue those enhancements and make sure that everything's going fine. So you'll also see this potential future of ingesting AFNet or base data here at Offutt to see where we can continue to assist AF Cyber in protecting the environment of the base as well. On the left, you'll see how security data can flow in from this installation, and that would be the CNS in a box we'll get into next. And on the bottom right, you'll see all the coordination, all the process, everything being done with AF Cyber, as well as the vendors, to ensure that you all's mission continues and you're safe and secure in everything you're doing. Here you'll see some numbers really of what we've been doing from the beginning of December last year to the 31st of July. You'll see a huge number at the top. That's just straight up raw data that's come in from CNS, from AT&T, from SAIC, that's come into the ESOC that we then were able to get out some of the false positives that might have come along with it, tune the noise, as you'll say, and be able to look at things in our SOAR environment, which is an automation tool. From there, we're able to human tune and get rid of some additional noise, workload reduction being done there, to get down to this 534 tickets across the EITaaS environment that the vendors as well as us can then, again, protect and detect against and work through before anything needs to be escalated to the AF Cyber, or the 16th Air Force in this case. So then you'll go down and see 40 tickets that we ended up escalating up as they might have been beyond an event and at a level that potentially we were not able to handle as per our IRPs or incident response plans. So we got that up to them for them to do higher, deeper analysis and save some time on the lower tier 1 mundane or routine security divings. And then you'll see CNS in a box. This is here on base to help enhance this platform, this capability, and as well as to help in future endeavors as well. So quickly, you'll see device 42 on there. Eric will jump into that next. Cortex and Devo, which are the tools that are being used to help automate and to help streamline all of this data into the ESOC to continue to protect you and what you're doing and make that mission go smoothly.
Awesome, thanks, Don. Yeah, so as Don was mentioned, so D42 is one of the tools that is on CNS in the box, which is actually just a server that we worked with the TPOC, Mr. Wayne Brown and Mr. Tyga Everson here to get installed here at Offutt, so it's in one of your guys' data centers currently. And D42 is a tool we used on there to collect data, map systems to infrastructure, and help the ESOC to identify systems that come online. It basically just gives us a clear picture of the systems and infrastructure on the Offutt Air Force Base, and will allow us and airmen to see, if we want to do something to X infrastructure or application, how it could have an effect on different infrastructure applications on Offutt Air Force Base. So we know if we touch something, we're not breaking something else, or if we do, we know exactly what's going to happen. So that's what we use D42 for. If you want to move on to DCC, so D42 here is just a subset of some data that it captures. So you can see right there the operating system count. You see the one in orange there. That one's kind of getting close to end of life. I think you got about 2 years left with the standard 2012 service. So it identifies servers that we could have potential for updates or upgrades. Compute types, it allows us, you got 28 physical servers, 15 virtual, one of the data centers that we took a look at. So maybe taking a look at trying to virtualize some more of those physical servers and optimizing your utilization of that. Hardware looks good here at Offutt. I think you guys always done a good job with that. So, and that information will all lead us into DCC with data center consolidation. It's all kind of ties together. And DCC will allow us to analyze the current state of your data center and take a look at what we can do and give some recommendations on how we think we can improve data centers. So if you take a look at recommendation number 1, for example, populate racks to reach optimum 70 to 80% utilization. instead of assigning racks by project. So, you know, there were some servers that we saw within the data center that maybe only would be in 5 to 10% utilized. So how can we move what's on those servers to servers that are already being utilized, so we can save, you know, some time, effort, money, all that good stuff. And so,
Yep. At the end of the day, we're really trying to just make sure that we get all of the data and everything back over to the Air Force, where they might have lost some information when EITaaS took over here at Offutt, making sure all of that data gets back to them, as well as any chances for optimization or for ways to enhance or to have some potential operational cost savings. So that's here what we're doing for CNS. And I appreciate your time.
awesome.
For you guys mind coming up, staying up, for the other vendors, you guys, for Q&A, just it's better versus having to look back for if any questions. So 1 or 2 individuals come up. And while they're coming, I want to foot stop. This is our EITaaS IPO website. So obviously feedback on the service portal is great. If you want to send feedback to the Integrated Program Office, that's our org box. If you want more information on EITaaS, QR code takes you to our website. You can also Google Air Force EITaaS and bring it up to the APAN site. And then one more. There you go. And again, I think we stopped it, the service portal, the number. And Wayne, did you want to stop your contact information as a second or last resort?
You can start with me and I can engage on the IPO on everybody's behalf on the space.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah, so one thing we did stop is please, for any first resolution or first call resolution, start with the portal, the phone number, and technicians can get you the answers you need or make sure we follow up. So that's it for the formal part of the briefing. Now we do the Q&A. So open to the floor for any questions from the group.
Go back one slide and leave that up.
I have a question, if I may. I don't know if I was the first one to ask. 2 issues today kind of gave me pause to wonder whether or not I'm doing the right thing. The first one that I had that I was dealing with was with SharePoint. I use a scheduling system on the SharePoint site for classes. I got a whole bunch of classes in there, people register. Here comes a banner on there that says, this site will be decommissioned April 2022. End of banner. So as the user, I'm left going, am I going to just write off the end of here at April 2022? What is my next step to transition? So it would have been nice if there would have been some instructions on that banner. So I don't know if that's your ballpark or not. So
It's not, Dudley. That resides with knowledge ops in the Comscore.
okay. But again, as the person working with the PC,
Correct.
my experience is poor with that aspect. So I got a year to work it out, but still, that was the first I'd seen of it. So just a little bit of feedback. The second question I have is that I'm working with an organization and it looks like we will need Microsoft Project on their machines.
Okay.
I opened the ticket, there was some rigmarole with the ticket. I'm now having to chase down some licensing, try to find out what the cost is, do the cost benefit analysis. So I'm not confident that I'm doing the right thing or even asked the right question. Is there instructions or something I should have been following? When I put in my ticket, did I miss anything or should I have done something different? So those are the 2 things that happened today that come to mind. Fresh.
Okay. Number 1, send me an email about your knowledge ops and your SharePoint issue. I'll engage with our SharePoint team, our knowledge ops team, to get you an answer as to when your site's going to decommission and why.
Yeah.
That I own that.
Okay.
Number 2, my first suggestion would be to put the ticket into the service center. Toll-free number, log onto the website, use the portal, use the chat feature. All of them work exceptionally well with the service desk.
Okay.
They'll get a ticket in the system for you. That's going to get routed to, well, the first thing that's going to happen is the service desk is going to look at it, and Mr. Paredes and his team will determine whether or not the software that you're requesting is currently in scope and funded by the EITaaS risk reduction effort. There are a number of Microsoft products, and we all use them.
Right.
Project, Visio, there's a litany of them. They're not standard Office offerings.
Right.
They're part of the Office family, but they're not standard Office offerings. That'll go to his team to be evaluated.
Yep.
And that'll eventually get kicked back to our ECO. You know Neil as well as I do.
Yeah.
You're gonna end up probably paying for that
Right.
if the Air Force does not decide to expand the service offering within the Microsoft Office portfolio.
Right.
And that's an Air Force decision because it's a funding issue.
Okay.
So your first step, Service Center, 1880, whichever direction you want to go.
Got it.
Your SharePoint thing, I'll take that.
Okay.
And I'll give it our knowledge ops team.
Well, one thing I can add is, so when you're working with field services, so like Tim Fly and that team, Tim's the base lead, so when you're working with them, you know, one thing, some of the things we'll probably be asking questions, hey, what kind of device are you installing it on? Do you have a new EDC? Are you using an SDC? Because it also depends on what version of project you need to have on it, right? So from an Office standpoint, we've really transitioned to Office 365. But with our EDC image, it needs to be, I believe it's the 64-bit, but it needs to be a certain version of project. So we want to coordinate that with you, because we don't want you to go and purchase something when it can't be used, right? We want to make sure you're getting, you know, something that'll be useful for what you all need it for. So that interaction with my team will be back and forth. My team will engage with our, you know, one of the many groups that were on that big circle, our endpoint team internally. You necessarily wouldn't be involved in that. They'll act as the middle person to get that information for you, and so that way you have an understanding of what you actually need.
Okay,
So-
sounds like I may have done the right thing.
Yep,
I
you-
did
you-
open the ticket, the gentleman came out, made the determination he could not load it.
Yep.
Talked to me about the issue of licensing. I have an email waiting on Neil to give me
Yep.
information on whether or not the voodoo is right.
Yep.
So I know once upon a time I had Microsoft Project, of course it is all water under the bridge. I need it now networked, so, you know, the question is, can I get what I want at a reasonable price?
Are you still working on an HP machine or on a Dell machine?
Dell machine, do it.
Okay.
You're gonna be focused right with that gentleman's team right there, so.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Wonderful machine, love it, it's fine, I got a fast machine, so my hats off to you.
Yeah.
I got a fast machine that moves quickly,
Yeah.
good stuff. And again, I will send you an email.
Please do, Doug.
So we can work. Thank you.
Yep.
And if you think the machine works fast now, wait till that fella hiding back there gets done with the little section he's working on.
Thank you. Now,
You're gonna see improvement in the network.
perfect, thank you.
And also, with that feedback, make sure you go there, put the survey and say like, hey, we're actually doing well too, right? So positive feedback is also important.
Right?
So I just ran through the same problem he's having with Vizio. A couple of our guys have the Dell laptops, EITaaS laptops. No problem, install it. The rest of us, we gotta go through our ECO and all that. I'm working on it. 800 or 888 number works great. Love those guys. Maybe it's a little scripted, but you know.
That's on purpose. We want every person to get the same experience when they call in. So, yep.
ServiceCenter.mil, I cannot get to that using Edge at all. It just sits there and spins. Half the time, Chrome will sit there and spin. Sometimes it loads, sometimes it won't.
Yep.
It seems to load okay on Explorer, but Explorer's pretty well dead.
Yeah.
So there's something with that website and Edge that seem to be incompatible. I'm not the only one who's had that problem.
It's not even that, it's the network. This one here, I can honestly say, is a network-related issue. I work in Service Center, not as often as the help desk does, but just about every day, looking at every ticket that comes into Offutt. For the past 4 weeks, it has been exceptionally slow to load, if it loads at all, regardless of browser. That's because they've been experiencing a hardware issue that they recently got corrected. And those sticks should be updated this week, or I'm hopeful for early next week at the latest that it'll be 100% armored and handling 100% of the traffic. So there are some hardware issues that we're working to remain in compliance with the security side, so we don't flag all of Donnie and Eric's equipment, and I don't get more emails from ESOC about stuff that's not in compliance. But yeah, there's been a hardware issue with the service center itself.
Yeah, and so our service centers had a incident bridge open every day, working with the different groups in an effort to try to get it fixed. So something we're aware of, something we've been actively working. We pulled folks from different teams and literally had them on a bridge call all day for the last week or so in an effort to get that resolved, because we identified that as an issue also.
I'd also like to, sir, the issue about the software, just to share some good news with you. Right now, we're in the middle of a persona pilot program, which means in a ServiceNow instantiation, we're coming out and every airman and guardian has a different job and different function, right? Depending on that job and function, there are things that are associated with you that are not associated maybe with an airman or a guardian that works in the maintenance squad. So that persona that you have will give you access here in the future to software and capabilities and even machines that might not be accessible to an airman who has a different job. So right now we're about to roll out a pilot program in one of our bases to test our ServiceNow and how we work with that. Because in the future, when you log into your system, it will recognize who you are, what type of job you have, and what software you're entitled to, and that'll be automated, okay?
We had one question over here.
A little bit of questions for everywhere. Mr. Mills and I are part of the reconnaissance squadron. We have 3 flying squadrons all in one building. A lot of issues that come up, and we try to get the support from our squadron before we reach out to you guys to see if we can solve some of that. Some of the problems that come up is the ServiceNow, the ticket status. Just you guys. Problem that we were having is we could check the update, we could see the timeline. Problem is when it moved to, I guess, between different services, we never got that update.
Different resolve groups. Yeah. So, and I'll speak to that real quick, and I'll just jump to your next question after that. So, in the past, previously, we got a lot of feedback. If you've been on ServiceNow for a while, in the past you just got inundated with messages, right? It's like this person put a single note in, or something pretty basic. You got a lot more information, right? And so the feedback we got was, hey, it is overload, it is too much. So we really scaled back quite a bit on those communications. And part of that is maybe who it got moved to, right? So right now we are going back and looking at, and it's a balance act, right? Like how much of that information are we able to pass back and forth? Because as the user, if a customer goes on, they only really see what happens with the case, not necessarily, hey, this incident was moved to this resolver group and a work order was given to field services. They simply know, I have this case number, it's an issue, I don't care who has it, I just need it fixed, right? So we are trying to balance out how much info we give so we don't inundate those folks' email box.
Okay. With that, I know there's the knowledge wall. A lot of the users that we've had in the squadron can try to click on an article, it says you don't have permissions to view any of it.
Yep.
Is that being resolved, or is that being more open?
We would just need to know specific examples. Part of that's tough to say because the way it's set up right now is there are certain articles that pertain to different groups. Like there's things for field services for us to be able to go in and troubleshoot items. Typically we may not, if it's something that maybe a user may not have access for, typically we won't give them access to that knowledge article with the concern is they go and maybe mess something up or cause even more issues than they had previously. So if we know exactly, hey, these users of this group, they can perform these functions, we have a knowledge manager, we can work with them. JR spoke about personas, things of that nature. We can look to see and make sure they have access to the right stuff. We just need those specifics.
I think, and as we grow in being able to automatically figure out, the user profiles, we might be able to not even have that show up as an option in the first place.
Yeah, it'll be a win.
That'd be great.
As we mature that capability, it'll be a huge win because the system will recognize who you are, what your function is, and what you should have access to do your job.
And more importantly, what rights you have to execute the
That's right, sir.
information that's within the knowledge article.
That's right, sir.
If you don't have those rights to execute that information, providing the knowledge article is going to do you no good. Senior?
I know. We got 5 minutes, the last question.
Okay.
Okay, good. It's a universal security group. Trying to lock down folders. I have put in REMI tickets, and the response back was to go to service center. Going to the service center, it's essentially hands in the air.
Who kicked it back out of revenue?
I think that was the CFP is where the usual route was.
The problem that we run into with EITaaS currently does not have responsibility for identity management for the Air Force. Identity management goes into those universal distribution groups, universal security groups, your personal user ID, your group user ID, all of those and how they interrelate. That's all managed by directory services at the NOS, at the 83rd. Not by anybody in EITaaS. These guys are off the hook for that. I'd love for them to be able to do that, but it's not in scope and it's not funded, and I don't know how far into the future, how far into Colonel Offal's crystal ball we're able to get by the fog to see what the future holds for us. Right now, that's all meant. That should have gone into remedy. It should have been forwarded to directory services or up to the folks at the 83rd to be addressed for your universal security distribution.
So that's the correct method, though?
That is the correct method.
To use remedy
Now,
stills?
okay, so the service desk is responsible for taking all unclassified tickets. There's a resolver group within the service desk called EUS Service Desk Swivel. Their job is to swivel tickets from ServiceNow to Remedy and get them assigned. That's their sole purpose. And they follow that ticket cradle to grave.
But that's transparent to me. I mean, I'm a
Yeah,
user.
you won't see it.
You'll only have you'll have the case that you submitted,
Yep.
and that's what you'll be able to see. And so we're also working to where there's an integration between Remedy and ServiceNow. So that way, when the Remedy ticket is updated, any notes that are put into that Remedy ticket will automatically show up into the ServiceNow ticket. So that way, right now it's extremely manual, right? I have my queue of tickets that I manage. I'm going out checking Remedy, seeing what's going on. As we're moving forward, any of those updates will move over into ServiceNow automatically, and vice versa. Ticket gets closed out in Remedy, it'll close out the case in ServiceNow, kind of provide whatever notes were added into there. So, but we from our service center, we do have a team that is constantly monitoring those, and if something's sitting out there aged, and they have a contact for that group, they're sending them an email saying, hey, this is an aged ticket, what's the status of it? Nothing's been updated in this ticket for this amount of time. So we do have dedicated folks just for that.
All right, so thank you so much for the questions. We're coming to the end of the group Q&A. Our members will be here afterwards to talk more. If you have questions, if you want to see what's coming down the pipeline, just it will be available for you. All right. A couple things I want to harp on, and we kind of mentioned this a few times. The first is Service Center, right? That is our tasking mechanism for EITaaS. If we do not get it into the system, we cannot work it. All right. So what that really means is part B to that is we have to be proactive on all sides. All right. So be proactive as a customer, be a demanding customer, and then for my team over here at the Con Squadron and the EITaaS team, I've directed them to be proactive on their side as well. And a lot of times the problems could be complex, and so there's going to be back and forth, and that's part of the resolution process, right? Ideally, we get to a point where a majority of the tickets and events that happen is streamlined through the process, and it just gets resolved right away. But that's not how IT works. Sometimes there's multiple parties involved, and we just need to talk and work through it. All right. And the last part is I'm gonna again piggyback on Colonel Offal. Give us feedback. All right. Again, on Service Center, give us positive feedback. Give us negative feedback. That will all really help us hone in where we need to work on certain areas that we might not be aware of. And in the last session, we talked about the human sensor. Right. Ideally, the network actually tells us everything that's going on, and we would be preemptively engaging before it even becomes an issue for you. However, for the most part, sometimes the best sensor is a human person, right? If you ever get attacked by Russia or China on the network, most likely the user will find out first because they'll do it in a way where the person looking at the system is not working right or is not behaving correctly or something's not right, but they're fooling the system into thinking that it's still correct. Okay, so we'll mature the automated systems, but then we need engagement. We need the human sensor to work as well. So that's a mindset change. It's kind of different from how we worked in the past, but together I think we have one of the best teams in the Air Force working this problem set. And if we do this right, we're going to get the best user experience that the rest of the Air Force has compared to the rest of the Air Force. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to a more casual session afterwards. So thank you so much for your time.